Shalom. This week's Torah portion, Behar Sinai, in Mount Sinai, begins Leviticus chapter 25, teaching us the laws of shmitta and yovel, the sabbatical and the jubilee years. And indeed, the sabbatical year is compared to the original Shabbat of creation. As we find here in the verses of our portion, that the shmitta, the sabbatical year, is called the Shabbat of the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. And I'm thinking that there is an allegory to a broader, more mystical concept of the sabbatical year. We find in Psalms 92 a song to the Sabbath day. This psalm is really kind of like an allegory to the perfection of Shabbat, going back to the Shabbat before the creation of the world, and really the final Shabbat, when the world comes to its state of rectification, and in that sense the world could be said to be now on a journey towards that final Jubilee. This is reflected in the liturgical poem L'cha Dodi that we recite on Friday nights, the famous prayer authored by Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz, wherein we sing the words of the Midrash that the Sabbath is the last of God's creation, yet the first thought. So, reflecting on that ultimate concept of the rectification of the world in the final Shabbat, and recalling the original pristine state of creation, is reflected by Psalm 92. This concept of the original Shabbat was covered over with misunderstanding by the time we reached Egyptian slavery. And of course, as we read now, the Torah portion of Behar corresponds to the period in the calendar now between Passover and Shavuot, as we are counting the days of the Omer and ascending spiritually from that state of constricted consciousness of slavery towards the time when we can receive the Torah at Mount Sinai. And we are counting 7 times 7, these 49 levels of impurity which had permeated us in Egypt and which had covered over the pristine idea of that original Shabbat. Again, in the verse in Parashat Behar, we read how Passover itself was called the Great Shabbat, and Passover began our 49-day journey of purification until we received the Torah on the 50th day, Shavuot. And of course, we understand that at Mount Sinai on Shavuot, the shofar was blown to exemplify the words that are mentioned in the Holy Zohar on Shavuot. That's when we really got out of exile. And these levels of 7 times 7 really reveal the depths of that concept of Shabbat. This was revealed to us. The first thought of God was again revealed to us. 7 Sabbaths of purification, returning us to the original Shabbat of creation and connecting us to the final Shabbat of redemption. This is the experience of standing at Mount Sinai in a few weeks and receiving the Torah. Different levels of creation. The Shabbat of creation is a level in time which purifies the world. And then the concept of Shavuot, the purification of the soul, which results in true freedom from slavery, both physical and spiritual. And the third level of existence, the world of space. And now we look at this Torah portion, the concept of the 7 years of planting and the year of the sabbatical year, the 7th year, times 7 in the cycle of the Jubilee. And we realize that the Holy Land of Israel goes through the same process of purification as do we, but on an expanded level. The days become weeks, and the weeks become years. We work the land for 6 years, and the 7th year is the year of rest, the sabbatical year, and this further expands to the level of 7 sabbaticals, which culminate with the Jubilee year, when all the slaves go free and the land of Israel returns to its original owners. When all 3 levels of existence, time, space, and the level of souls, are totally purified, this brings about the complete redemption. And it can be understood on a totally expanded and somewhat mystical level. You know, our sages teach that the world will be around for 6,000 years. And if you compute the hopefully 120 years of one's lifetime, there are 6,000 Sabbaths in a period of 120 years, which is the traditional time period that we bless each other, we should live to be 120 like Moses. There's 6,000 Sabbaths in that cycle. And the total amount of 6,000 years of this world infuses us with the knowledge and hope of that final Shabbat. So our sages teach us that the time in which we are living now is actually a state of being in which the world is on the level of the eve of Sabbath, Erev Shabbat. And in this level of time, these 6,000 years, on this level of space, sanctified space of the land of Israel, and the souls of the righteous, on that calendar, in that clock, it's really just a few moments before the revelation of the final redemption, ushering in the great Sabbath.